Hello, everyone, and welcome to a post-game edition of Viking Soundbites. I'm Tom Moore from VikeFans.com, and I'm joined by former NFL linebacker and now game day color analyst for the Vikings, Pete Bercich. Pete, big opening night win against New Orleans. Talk to me about it.
Well, I mean, you'll take any win to go 1-0 after the Packers win and the Detroit Lions win, but to do it the way the Vikings did it, I think makes a little bit of a statement, and man, you feel a lot more confident about the fact that you have a short week and you're going into Pittsburgh to face the Steelers because Vikings throttled the Saints. I mean, it was not close. They didn't let up on the gas pedal, and there were some outstanding individual performances in this game.
You know, and you talk about it, you just start right away with, is Sam Bradford in the passing game? Things that the fans hadn't seen in preseason. Yeah, they only played a drive or a quarter here and there, but they did not have the rhythm like they had tonight.
No, and you look at the defense, too. I mean, there was nothing other than the protection in the first half of the Seattle game that made you think that this was going to happen. I mean, defensively, you have a lot of veterans. You hope that they could flip the switch when the regular season came, you know, and they did. And I think the other thing the Vikings did a good job of in that is taking advantage of the youth with the 49ers. The Saints. The Saints had a rookie starting at defensive line. They had a rookie at linebacker, and they also had a rookie at safety and another one at corner. So they took advantage of the youth and made the Saints make some adjustments. And there were a couple key blitzes that the Saints threw at the Vikings that we blocked up, and Bradford was able to find Thielen deep for some explosive plays. I mean, Bradford, 27 of 32 for 346 yards and 3 touchdowns with a rating of 143. Nobody would have seen that coming out of Bradford. And it just goes to show, if you can protect Bradford, keep him upright, he's going to kill you. And that's what I think teams are going to do and see over the next few weeks. They're going to say, we can't let Bradford just sit there and be comfortable in the pocket. We're going to have to get after him. We're going to have to get aggressive. I think teams are going to have to get more aggressive against this offense, and that's where the running game and those things are going to become, you know, super important. Dalvin Cook over 100 yards, 127 by the end of the night. The first Viking running back to eclipse 100 yards since December of 2015 when Adrian Peterson did it. That is big, big 33-yard run at the end of the game to kind of, put the final nail in the Saints' coffin. But that's what you brought him in for. He did it, minus a kind of a big drop on a third down early on in the game. I think Dalvin Cook played very, very well, too.
Yeah, and I'll tell you one thing about, Cook. You may not have seen the stat because you're doing the radio broadcast, but they showed it on television. You know, he surpassed Adrian Peterson's record in his first game. It was most rushing yards by a rookie in their first game. He was 127. Adrian was 107. And you saw Adrian. We did not see much of him on the field tonight. What was the reaction of the fans when he showed up in that stadium?
I think it was kind of mixed. I mean, they booed a little bit. I know when he got the first carry and got in there was some boos, but overall, I don't think it was that big of a deal. And I mean, you look at the Saints and with their three-headed rushing attack, and Peterson had 18 yards, Kamara had 18 yards, Ingram had 17 yards. I mean, nondescript, 60 total yards of rushing tonight. And that is a factor of Linval Joseph and Eric Kendricks, so I thought they both played extremely well. Linval Joseph was matched up with Saints center Max Unger, who had foot surgery in the offseason, and Linval just destroyed him up front all day long. And, you give Linval that big extension, pay him a lot of money, and he comes through. So between he and Kendricks, there wasn't much to be had by the Saints on the ground. And and above and beyond that, I mean, it took Breeze almost the first half to get to 100 yards throwing. Yeah, he got some passes and some yards in the second half, but that's, the defense trying to just keep the ball in front of them, not give up any big plays. But overall, they really got this Saints offense off rhythm. And I think that has what the defense does, what's their secret. You watch these games, and they do a better job. The DBs of the Minnesota Vikings do a better job of jamming up wide receivers, knocking them off their routes. And when you play a timing offense like the Saints, where the quarterback is used to getting to the top of his drop and having a receiver in a certain spot and getting the pass there, when you are able to disrupt that, especially on that last third down play. They tried to get a touchdown. They tried to get a pass to Ted Ginn, and Ted Ginn had fallen down and got tied up, and that was just, again, disrupting routes, and the Vikings defensive backs do that very, very well.
You know, you talk about it. Trey Waynes tonight, you know, hit like a Mack truck out there. I mean, he looked like he was, you know, fire lit under him a little bit.
Yeah, they tested Trey Waynes quite a bit, and I think Trey Waynes played a pretty smart football game. And minus getting beat one time on a double move, he still had enough speed to recover, and make a tackle. So that was Coleman, I believe, that got past him on the long throw. But he had a good night. He had a really good night. I'm sorry, I think it was Lewis that got past him, but he had a very, very good night. He stayed away from Xavier. I think Xavier did a good job. He had some heat problems, so he didn't come out after halftime. He stayed in, got an IV, got back in the game, and played a little bit longer, but not a ton. I mean, Terrence Newman, how about him? 38 years old, playing nickel, then having to go out the corner when Xavier Rhodes came out and Mackenzie Alexander got in a little bit. I mean, depth at defensive back, the defensive back position is essential in this day and age, and the Vikings, they still have that, and that was great to see.
And I'll tell you what, with Breeze, I mean, you got to get that rhythm disruption they had, and the pass rush did come along to do that, and that's why, until you got late in the fourth quarter, and the guy had 200 yards offense to that point on passing, and so that made a big difference, and then made the secondary hold up even stronger.
You're right, and the key is to make the Saints one-dimensional. And they did that. Saints never really got the ground game going. That allowed the defense to kind of pin their ears back at times. I think you look at Ben Gedeon, who got in there. They tested him on a wheel route with Kamara. They didn't get the ball there. They got him on a screen one time. Early in the game on the opening drive, they noticed the Vikings were playing a lot of man-to-man defense, and they got him picked off on a screen. So, the Saints put points on the board on the opening drive, but they were not able to answer and get touchdowns.
And that's the whole point. That was the problem the Vikings had last year. A lot of times they ended drives with field goals. Tonight, they ended them with touchdowns, and they kept the Saints to field goals. That was a big difference.
It was. It was the difference. And, you go into this game, and if you're a Vikings fan with this defense and the way this defense is played, it's the race to 21. I mean, it's hard for an offense to put up 21 or more points against this Viking defense without the Viking offense turning the ball over, getting the short field, doing those kinds of things. And once you get there and offenses become if you get the lead, offenses become one-dimensional, and makes it even harder for them, to do that. And that's exactly what the Vikings did. They did not let Drew Brees get in any sort of a rhythm, get a rapport going with any of his wide receivers. They kept them off balance. They pressured him a good amount. A lot of calls tonight that did not go the Vikings' way. One of them, the 15-yard roughing the passer penalty, which I thought was a very, very bad call. That resulted in a field goal on that drive, and it could have been better. I mean, you didn't expect it. Again, I'm stunned a little bit by how well this defense played.
Well, it's funny that you talk about that. In past years, you have a penalty like that on defense, and sure enough, it always results in a touchdown for the team. That didn't happen tonight. This team did respond when they had some adversity on penalties. They were able to come back and shut the Saints down. That's different.
Yeah, it is, and that's the key. And those were the kinds of things that you didn't see them do in the preseason. You didn't see the offense overcoming penalties and mistakes that they had made and finishing drives. So to see them do that tonight. But again, you got to go back to Bradford, who, my heavens, when the Saints blitzed, dropped coverage, and they made some mistakes in adjustments, Bradford is just so accurate. I mean, the back shoulder throw for the touchdown to Stephon Diggs and a couple of those throws to Thielen. I mean, he was just absolutely deadly accurate. And that's why the scouts loved him coming out of college. At 6'4", 6'5", whatever he is, he could see the field, and you keep him standing upright with the gun that he has as an arm and as accurate as he is. I mean, you love Teddy Bridgewater, but I just don't see a performance like that out of Teddy Bridgewater at any point in time. And we are very, very lucky to have Bradford here. and a great move by Spielman. And like I said, the key is going to be to protect them. And I really think going forward, you look at Pittsburgh and what they do, they're going to get aggressive. They're going to blitz. They're going to try to force Bradford into making plays. You look back last year at the Eagles game, and that's what the Eagles did to get Bradford off of his game. And I think that the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to go exactly that way.
Absolutely. They'll be spending some time with the film, no doubt. And before I let you go, Pete, talk about the five guys in the offensive line, people that did not play together last year, especially the rookie center, Pat Elflein, showed the athleticism getting out there on the screen blocks. Talk to me about what you saw with this offensive line.
Well, that's exactly right. I think that they did a fantastic job tonight. And, what they may not have in pure talent, I think they make up in cohesiveness. Remmers and Reef, those guys, just Berger. You watch that game, and in the fourth quarter, right at the end in the last series, all five of those guys are jogging out to the field. You don't see offensive linemen jogging out onto the field as a group too often. So, they take pride in what they do. I think the cohesiveness of that group is really what's driving them right now, and they were passing off stunts and doing things that we hadn't seen them do, the offensive line do in quite some time. And I think that bodes well for this Viking offense. If those guys can keep it up, we keep everybody healthy, we're going to be in good shape.
And I'll tell you what, it sure is a lot more fun to talk about what's right than what's wrong. And that's going to make it all the better for you, me, and everybody else in Pittsburgh.
In this league that is, John Gruden was in town this week, and he mentioned that he spoke at a breakfast that I attended, and he said this league is set up for 8-8. And in a league where, it is set up for 8-8, to get a win on opening day and to get a win that's this convincing, that's huge. We started 1-0 last year, but it feels completely different. Last year it was the defense that saved the day. The offense didn't really do anything. This year, both sides of the football played very, very well. It's a solid team effort. Even special teams, they looked really, really good. So you just got to ride that wave and ride that momentum and play with some confidence. And I think with Diggs and Thielen at receiver and Kyle Rudolph coming in with a big touchdown reception late, you've got a lot of weapons on offense. Defensively, very, very physical, very, very good football game. But we'll have a good test in Pittsburgh this Sunday in a short week, so we'll see how they respond.
I'm looking forward. You and I will both be in the press box at Heinz Field. And don't forget, folks, when you see this, tweet back to Pete. He'll answer some of the questions that you have. You can reach him at Twitter, at Pete Bercich, or at VikeFans.com. And I know they're about to shut off U.S. Bank Stadium on you there, Pete, so we're going to let you go. So until next week, for Pete Bercich, I'm Tom Moore. So long, everyone.